Well, welcome everyone. My name is Bart Bartlett, and here is the impeccably, incredibly brilliant person that I have known for years, my sister by another mister, let's say it that.
There you go.
Peggy Simpson. Peggy, you've got an amazing book for us today.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind in your introduction. And as always, it's a pleasure to be joining you. We've worked so many years together, and you're always just a joy to talk to and a
You too.
smiling face to look at. And I really appreciate that. But we do have a good book to share today. Let me get my screen ready here. And we should be on our way. Are you able to see the screen?
Looks amazing. Go
Great.
for it.
Great. So what we're talking about today is Success by Design by Peter Hirsch. And this is a book that may not have been Peter may not be as well known to many people. I don't know actually if he's written any other books. I don't believe he has. But this one struck me. A little bit of Peter's history. He actually studied in the yeshivas and the Jewish learning schools for many years, not only here in the States, but in Israel. And during a critical point in his life, he also became a born-again Christian. And let me just say that the reason his faith is important is because it's a critical ingredient behind his motivation to write this book. And the reason it was interesting for me, if you didn't hear me say this the other day, not that I'm going to use this session to try to push my faith on anyone, but my faith is a core value that I have. I have read a lot of personal development books, and Peter happens to be, as you can see here, he is the chief giving officer in one of the fastest growing home-based businesses, which Bart and I are a part of. And I wanted to understand, since he is one of the leaders in the company that I'm associated with, I wanted to understand what his perspective was and how many parallels I might find from his perspective coming from his faith to other books that don't mention faith, but are focused on personal development. So I wanted to do that balance and comparison. And I'm going to share a little bit of that comparison with you today. So here we go. So the other day we shared a few things of John Maxwell. I'll try to bring that in here as I compare and parallel. But some general comments about the book. It's not super thick. It's a reasonably easy to read, but it does in every chapter explain how to find the secrets in the Bible to help us learn how to become successful and passionate people. He identifies ways for us to find our hidden talents, right? In his words, our God-given potential. I also believe, whether or not you believe in a higher being, I believe that we're all here for a purpose, and I believe we do all have innate given skills and talents. Many that we probably never explore because we don't focus on them enough to realize we even have them. We go through life more of in a robotic mode rather than trying to be self-directing. But I do believe that we do all have hidden talents, and this book helps you try to find some of those. And if you are a faith-based person, it gives you biblical evidence that pursuing those understandings and pursuing your own success and your own dreams is biblically grounded. And there are also, as I said, some key philosophies related to personal development. So we had 11 categories of thinking the other day. We have 10 secrets. And for those who want to look up the scripture, I have listed the various scripture verses that he begins each chapter with, but let's just talk a little bit about the chapters. So he starts out with challenge, and I loved this saying, and it's a direct quote from his book. Challenges are the free weights for you to use to train for success, right? A lot of discussion about what challenges present to us and how we choose to approach them. Maxwell told us the other day of how to use our critical thinking to approach opportunities. And you're going to see some common terms here as well. Challenges, and if you look at that word challenges and narrow it down, you'll see inside of challenges is the word change, right? So we look at challenges as opportunities, as tests, as pilots, proof of concept, right? And we face those challenges, and as we learn to work through them and capitalize on the good things from them, it prepares us for bigger challenges. And we talked about the other day as well that, you know, your success will come as big as the solutions you offer. So again, the more that you are able to face challenges successfully, the more progress you'll have in your life. Belief is the next secret. And he says, be certain of possibilities and live by your faith. This coincides with, and there's a fairly long discussion in the book about, you know, you have to believe. My husband always says you have to want something. You have to want it. Les Brown would say you have to be hungry, right? You have to be hungry for things. So having something to believe in strongly, it's just the driving force, right? It's the driving force that keeps you going. Your purpose. Here again, we saw John Maxwell's comment the other day about the people who know how may have a job, and the people who know why will be the boss. And we indicated be the boss of themselves and their life. And how ironic, although I have a typo here on outperform, how ironic that also in this book, when Peter is discussing purpose, again, directly from his book, he says, people who know why outperform people who know how. Okay, so that's just another validation that these are important concepts. If you are really interested in improving yourself, improving your life, improving lives of others, helping others get to where they need to be, these are some key points, some key thought processes, some key activities that you need to be conscious of and work towards. Fearlessness, okay? Fearlessness, he goes into a lot of different types of fears. Why do we have fears? How do we overcome our fears? In a few minutes, I'm going to actually read you a passage from the book. It is probably a story that will stick with me the rest of my life as an example of how succumbing to your fear of the unknown can make you choose the wrong path. That if you're just willing to accept a risk, to accept the risk of what might be behind the door that you don't know what is there, take that risk, be willing to fail. As he says, double your success, you need to double your failure, right? Colonel Sanders, we all know that story. He got, 1,000 no's before he got one yes. But this chapter was really pivotal. And this story that I'm about to share with you here in a few minutes was just, it'll just stick with me. Like I said, it'll stick with me, and I'm sure you're going to understand why in just a minute. Let me stop there. Bart, any comments on these first four?
Well, I mean, I can't wait to hear the story, but you know, I love the very first one on the challenge, and it's one of the things I talk about when we do our training and all, is that think of someone who is a weightlifter, who goes to the gym, who works out. How do they gain more strength? It's through resistance.
Yeah.
That's how you gain more strength, is through resistance. What is resistance? It's a challenge. So it's a challenge you put onto yourself. You know, if you stay in that one little comfort zone lane, that's where you're going to always be. And that's okay. If you're okay with that, don't complain you don't have more, because
Right.
you've made that choice. to be there. So I really love that. And I love the fact that people who know why outperform people who know how. And every time I hear something like that, I think about, you know, don't chase the money. Do what it is you're passionate about, follow your why, and the money will chase you.
Yep. And the more you help others, the more your dreams and your goals will come to fruition.
Absolutely.
Because as you begin to focus on others and helping them, you will just automatically attract and make the right decisions to help yourself along the way. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing he talks about is attitude. And he says that attitude is the switch. I like that term, the switch that turns on everything else. Right. And I've talked on previous sessions with you about having an attitude of gratitude, and Maxwell talked about the possibility thinking, and we all know that it makes a difference. It makes a difference if you wake up in the day and you have the right positive attitude, a grateful heart, especially during the times that we're in right now. You know, we're all likely to complain here and there about, oh, we can't go do this, we can't go do that. But you know what? We're here and we're healthy. And there's a lot to be thankful for every day. So attitude, absolutely. It influences your decisions. It influences your thoughts. It influences everything you do. So I loved his expression of the switch. Focus, clearly, again, as per Maxwell, focus. He says, focus your thoughts and it'll focus your mind. The more you stay, you know, we all brag about how we think we can multitask, right? And we actually think we're being so efficient. And I'm first one of being guilty. I'll be at working my full-time job and I'll think I can be listening to a call and answering emails, but it's not true. I mean, I may do it, but I'm not really engaged in either one. You have to stay focused. If you really want to do your best and you really want the most positive outcome and the best thought process, you have to focus on one big thing at a time. One thing at a time. You may have other thoughts rolling around, but focus and narrow in on the one thing. Commitment. This is the most powerful builder, is commitment. Again, you have to want it. Your why has to be big enough to make it worth the effort and the challenges that you're going to go through to accomplish what it is you want to do. And you may have to, again, try different things. The road to success is not linear. The only linear road is the one in the rearview mirror. That's it. Going forward, it's a winding path, and you can't predict what path is going to actually take you there necessarily, but you have to make focused, I'll say calculated, probably maybe not the best word, but calculated decisions, right? Weighing the risk, weighing the possible outcome that you might achieve, and go for it. You have to go for it. Your desire, obviously, again, related to your purpose, your beliefs, your goals, those are all connected. And finally, your choice, right? You can have all these great thoughts, and a dream is nothing but a wish without an action plan, right? You can have a lot of great thoughts, but until you make a choice to do something, you're going to stay in the same place where you are. Back to you for comments.
Yeah, you know, two things that came up, and let me first say, you know, having the really honor and pleasure of getting to know Peter Hirsch and his wife Karen has truly been one of the highlights of my personal and professional career. They are indeed quality people with a capital Q, UALITY, all the way through.
Yeah.
Knowing now more about Peter from the story you just told us about him even sets him up on a higher plateau for me as far as someone who really understands human behavior, human thought processes, and really how to treat someone. But during those last 6 secrets there, 2 things popped out. One, attitude. And it's one of my favorite quotes, is that it is your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude in life. And that is so true. It's
Yeah.
your attitude that determines it all. And the other thing we talk about commitment, and you have that word faith is the most powerful commitment builder. I think all too often people associate the term faith and religion. And they're
Not the
two
same.
very different things,
Yes, they
very
are.
different things. And I think what Peter's talking about here is faith in yourself, and that faith comes from some place higher out there and different influences than you.
Yeah.
You know, I jokingly say, you know, I don't care who you believe in, whether it's God or Mother Nature or the universe or Oprah, whoever it is you believe in, that's who you come after with your faith. But that faith, all those external factors built into you, the faith you carry around in yourself.
That's right.
And
That's
unless
right.
you have that faith in yourself, no one else can have faith in you either.
That's right. That's absolutely right. That's a very good point. Very
Yeah.
good point. Okay.
I'm ready to
So,
hear the story.
all right, I'm about to get there. I just
Okay.
wanted to say one last thing. So you may have already figured it out that why some of the topics are green and the others are not is that I was drawing the parallel to John Maxwell's categories of thinking, right? So John talked about big picture, possibility, focused, reflective, and bottom line thinking. And you'll see even some of the same words repeated, but if not the exact word, I can tell you the discussion in those chapters is very similar to what John discussed in his book. So again, the more you, as you read, the more you see repeated thoughts and approaches, that should be more validation for you that those are the things you really want to pay attention to. Those must be important because more than one person is validating that they work and that they're critical to your success. So I just wanted to end with that thought. Okay, here we go. Here's the story. Without the possibility, thinking, commitment, fear may cause you to miss a life-changing opportunity. So here's the story. A man was convicted of treason and sentenced to death by firing squad. As the drums rolled, the man faced his executioners. The commanding general announced, "Sir, you have a choice. You can accept your fate and die before this firing squad, or you can go through that black door over there." He was given 2 hours to think about it. 2 hours later, the man was returned to the prison yard, placed in front of the firing squad, his hands bound, a blindfold covering his eyes. The general then asked him, "What have you chosen?" The man replied, "I have no idea what I might face behind that black door. It could be a most terrible fate. I choose the firing squad." The order was given, shots rang out. The man fell to the ground. As they were leaving the prison, an aide turned to the general and asked, "Sir, what was behind that door?" Without expression, the general replied, "Freedom." That man lost his life because he was afraid what might be on the other side of a closed door. And that illustration is going to stay with me for the absolute rest of my life. Absolute rest of my life. I don't know how you feel about that one, but that one was powerful.
That's powerful, because is that not true where so many of us are in life on a daily basis sometimes? You know, maybe you have an opportunity to move on to a different job or a different city, or you're not sure what's around that corner. And when you're talking about the only linear is in your rearview mirror, what came to my mind was that's the reason when you take road trips, like if we went from St. Louis to Chicago, let's go, it's a straight shot. Well, it's not a straight shot. Roads are not made to be straight linear paths. They have curves in them for a purpose.
That's right.
And it's a purpose that is real scientific and far above my pay grade, but it tells me that's the same way life is too.
Yeah.
It's not going to be straight. You know, there are going to be detours and challenges out there. What a powerful story.
Oh, wow. I mean, it even rereading it, I've read it multiple times, but even rereading it aloud, you know, when I get to that last part, when that man asked, that aide asked, what was behind the door? Life. That man could have had freedom. But because of his fear, it paralyzed him to even think. He wasn't thinking possibilities.
Right.
He didn't even go there. He
Right.
was thinking, I'm going to die one way or the other. On the other side of that door, there's something else that's going to be bad.
Mhm.
And he was entirely wrong.
Right.
And the only way he would have known is if he took the chance.
Mm.
And that's such a visual for me that I'll carry forever,
Wow.
when faced with decisions about what choice I might want to make. And of course, we all evaluate the risk, but it certainly will drive home for me what John Maxwell told us about possibility thinking, right? Possibility. You have to think about what if. Don't get yourself tunneled. So a couple of other highlights. The things that keep people from their goals. He does, when the goals chapter, he does talk a lot about, what keeps you from your goals and how to overcome some of that. Lots and lots of examples, lots of other biblical examples for those who want to look for that evidence. Here's a real key. A lot of times it's not that people don't want to achieve goals. They don't know how. And you and I have talked about that before, and that's something that I actually am personally passionate about, trying to put together some tools for people who don't know how to set goals, who don't know how to evaluate the risk of their opportunities. So we'll maybe at some point in the future talk about that some more, maybe. Fear of the risk, as we just saw with that story, and the low self-esteem. They don't feel like they deserve it. And I would say there are, unfortunately, a lot of people out there. And that's one of the things in Peter's book, is that he wants everyone who reads it to see just how deserving we all are, and that we should go for it. And because he said choice is the most important ingredient for us, and it all comes down to choice, he spent a fair amount of time talking about these 6 tests that when you're going to make a choice, look for what kind of improvement it's going to bring. Do you have the right influence? What's the motive? Is it in line with your core values? And in his case, aligned with God, what God would teach us to do. Does it have the right perspective? Is it aligned with where you want to go? And the last one I really like. The last one he said, if you make this choice, is this something you're going to shout from the mountaintop and tell everybody that you're doing it? If it's not, it may not be the right choice.
Wow, that's powerful there.
Yeah. So he does provide biblical evidence, and I have to mention this one more time again, because this was the last message in his book was a message of appeal to people in this area of their faith, and their faith aligned with his faith in believing in Jesus. So I wanted to give him credit for that. A challenge is meaningless without the belief to make it happen. So we have to have that strong belief of some kind, believe in yourself. And his book, the one of the biggest messages, again, is that your purpose, your life's purpose, is intricately tied to your core values. And when those are aligned, you set yourself for the biggest opportunity to succeed. And the last thing that he mentions is the most important sale of the day is what we sell to ourselves, right? It's our own self-talk. If we believe in ourselves, we believe in our core values, we believe and have a passion in what we're doing, we're focused on helping others, that we deserve it. And if you believe that you're made in God's image, whoever that is for you, how could you accept mediocrity? Why would a higher being that wants the best for you want you to accept average? So we should all expect our own success.
Wow.
So this was a great book. I recommend it. Again, very easy reading. It was good for me to understand that story of fear. Like I said, that'll just be with me forever and ever. But our book series continues.
Yes.
And I know you have one for us on Saturday. So
Yes.
Give us a little preview.
Absolutely. On Tuesday, Peggy shared with you 11 principles. Today, 10 steps, if you will, to success by design, 10 attributes of success. And on Saturday, 12 laws of success.
We're
So
going, we
11,
start
10,
up, we go a
12.
little down, we come
But
back up.
Les Brown, you know, I put Les Brown in the same category as Peter Hirsch. Just someone that is, you know, full of integrity. His faith does drive a lot of who he is, who he has become, and who he continues to be and become. What I love about this book, a lot of storytelling, reflection back to his mom, the way he grew up. And so we'll spend, you know, 20 minutes on Saturday talking about this book. It's going to be Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, back here on the same Facebook channels that Peggy and I are running right here. But come, because this one is really cool and it ties together. What I'm loving about this series is that we saw parallels between John Maxwell and Peter Hirsch, and then we're going to see another parallel with Les Brown. Because what does that tell me? It's what we said many times. You have to work harder on yourself than you do at your job.
Right.
And especially during this time with the pandemic, it's so easy to get caught up in the negativity or the what ifs or the woe is me's. Take those what ifs and turn them into something positive, and then go shout it from the mountaintop.
There you go.
That's where it really belongs. There it is.
There you go. There you go.
Peggy, this was amazing. This was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's been great fun. I hope that those who are watching have enjoyed today's discussion. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about Les Brown. He is one of my favorite authors as well. Yeah. And we've had the opportunity to see him. And I have his latest book, You Have to Be Hungry. Yeah, which is
that's right.
Second edition of an earlier book. So can't wait.
All right.
Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Thank you for tuning in with us, and you enjoy the rest of your day. And I know we'll be on calls later.
Exactly. We'll see everyone back here on Saturday at 2 Eastern, 1 Central, 11 Pacific. See you guys then.
Bye.
Bye now.